Hey, that'd be me. I'm Al Travis. We do this 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. I'm lucky enough to have Representative Jeremy Munson on the program. Representative, thank you very much for coming on. Moments before we did this bit, you blew my mind. I had seen a post from you earlier, and that's why I wanted to make sure you're on the program. Talk about the senators sticking around to vote on commissioners. I'm like, all right, now we're going to see some fireworks. Did I just read your post from 18 minutes ago that they decided not to do that? That they just went home?
Yeah, look, I'm really disappointed. I've talked to several senators over the past week on the last hours of the joint special session between the House and Senate last week. We passed a bill that removed the governor's unilateral lawmaking authority for COVID-19 and specifically directed all response from the state as we wind down COVID-19 to the Commissioner of Health, Jan Malcolm. So the Chapter 144 that gives her that power already exists, but this law restricted the governor so he wouldn't be able to respond. Only Malcolm can. And the nice thing about having the commissioner do the response to COVID is that the Senate has oversight. The Senate can fire the Commissioner of Health. And so the senators were like, yes, we did this, and we're going to stay in session through September. And then lo and behold, they were going to have meetings today to maybe fire a couple commissioners. One of the commissioners resigned in anticipation that they would be fired. That was the MPCA commissioner, but they actually confirmed 2 commissioners yesterday and then adjourned sine die, which means not until required to return. They can't call themselves back. Only the governor can call them back for a special session.
See, what I'm missing here, and I need some inside skinny here. You tell me how this works. So they wait until the end of session. The emergency powers is done. We're going to end this bad boy. The governor wanted it for another month up till August 1st, but he says, okay, we're done. Then they say, okay, thank you for that. We're not going to adjourn. The House left. They said, wait, we're going to work on these commissioners. We're going to get this stuff done. And I don't blame them. Governor says, hey, we're just playing politics here. What are you doing? Okay. And I like the governor enough, but his excuse was, I hope they don't take per diem while they're there. That you just spent $52 billion. Let's not worry about the $40 lunch tab. But my point being is, so he's saying, no, you better shouldn't do this. One gal literally quits her job because she doesn't want to go through this I presume, this trial, this job review. She doesn't want to go through, so she quits. Well, you kind of give yourself, you know exactly what's going to happen when you quit. You knew you weren't going to work out tomorrow. Does she get something for resigning? Does she get some unemployment or stuff? Or why not go through the process and make them? Because I believe now, this is just me looking at it, that's who they were after. As long as she quit, we'll go home. Why were they so much after her? Is this California car thing?
Yeah, it's because she continued to push the California clean cars emission. This basically sets the mandates on which dealers or on Minnesota car dealers on what assortment of vehicles that they're allowed to sell. And even though there was major pushback from rural Minnesota, since our number one car is a Ford F-150, and why should we implement California car standards in Minnesota where their popular car is the Honda Civic? She did it anyways. And she went against the will of the people. She went against the will of the legislature. And they wanted to fire her because of it. So she quit, but she didn't want to have to go through having hearings.
I'm going to stick up for the other side here, Representative. Please stick up for the Republicans if you can. But hasn't she been doing this for like 2 years? She isn't new on this. This idea of approving her or not approving. We just want to approve her until she does something we don't like. How had she been there for 2 years and not get approved by now?
Well, it's really important to understand that this isn't just politics. This is a constitutional check and balance. The Constitution and the federal government and the state government require that we have oversight over each other so that we don't abuse the powers.
Sure.
The legislature passes laws saying that the executive branch should implement these things. And if the executive branch steps out of bounds, then the legislature can go back and fire these people that are going past their powers.
No, I get that. My point being is that we waited until the end of session. Why didn't we take care of that problem 6 months ago? Why didn't we take care of that a year ago? She liked the California car standards. That's against our rules. We're not going to do it. I'm waiting. Why do they wait until it's implemented until you get rid of her? It seems back asswards.
Well, it was in the past. It was in the last few months that that the public hearings took place on California clean cars and everything else. So it has been a recent development. But you're right. I mean, to wait until the last few days before after the special session, that was waiting to the last minute. But at the same time, they wanted to get out there. We've got two senators in leadership that are likely going to be running for governor, and they wanted to just kind of be done with this and get going on the campaigns. But it's important for the people of Minnesota that they stayed in session. And so I'm really disappointed.
I'm not here to help the governor out any, but why doesn't he just appoint the next person that believes in the California car standards? And you guys can't come back in session until next year, and the car standards there. What do we get? I don't get the point, sir. That's my problem.
Yeah, that if the Senate would have stayed in session, they could have immediately fired the next person in line and continue to do that. So I'm waiting for my Senate colleagues to call me and give me an excuse on why they adjourned. But from what I understand, they were pretty disappointed.
All right, and the other one, I mean, Miss Malcolm, the senators on the Republican side have had a problem with her from day one since the COVID thing hit. They obviously left her alone, so she's in. We're just not going to vote on her either.
Well, it's important to know that the Senate has a very thin Republican majority. In fact, 2 Democrats left the Democrat Party and are now calling themselves independents, but caucus with the Republicans. So they have some allegiances to some of these commissioners. They tried firing commissioners last session, and there were some Republican senators that just could not stomach, voting against someone that they've known a long time and respected. So it's not entirely partisan, but they have a thin majority, and I just hope that they could at least stay in session. Why adjourn until January?
Yeah, it just seems like now we're just all going to go out and run for our seat for next time. Representative, I'm going to hold you over. You got 2 more things on your Facebook page that I love. This whole idea of becoming Eastern South Dakota. I'd like to talk a little bit about that coming up next on Al in the Afternoon. We've got Representative Jeremy Miller on the line with us today, talking about what's going on at the Capitol, and I appreciate him doing that. They're now done. It's the Capitol shut down. You can go visit, but no one's going to be there. But we also I want to talk to him. He's got this legislation that allows counties to say, I don't want to be Minnesotans anymore. I want to be South Dakotans. A couple of things on this. You can make the legislation, and then some county wants to vote, and I get it. Doesn't South Dakota have any say in it? We just say, nah, we're in South Dakota, and South Dakota's got to take us. How does that work?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's not specific to South Dakota. It is
I saw
basically,
the map.
Yeah, I drew a map to show kind of what it could look like. Yes, once the Minnesota counties vote, so let's start with the border counties, and it would work inward. It would be a vote to join the neighboring state, so Iowa or Wisconsin, North Dakota, South Dakota, and then once the counties are all done voting, and then the ones inward from them vote, then the Minnesota legislature votes to approve, then that state, so South Dakota, would vote too. Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota, said she welcomes us. I've talked to the governor of Iowa. She thinks it's a great idea to bring more farmers in southern Minnesota to Iowa by just letting them vote to stay in their community, but choose better governance. I've been fighting for less government, lower taxes and regulations for the 3 years I've been up here. And I just don't see us getting to a spot where we could be like South Dakota. It would be a 10-year battle. Why can't we just choose to be happy and choose better governance right now?
Well, I like the idea. I mean, it's good publicity. I get that, but I can't imagine this getting past the Minnesota House. I mean, it's just not going to go. Okay, so the counties vote. Yeah, we want to go somewhere, which would be a hard sell just because you're born and raised in Minnesota. And now you're what? You'd have to find out. Then the Senate goes to the House and the Senate. There's no way the House is going to say. No way in the world the governor is going to say, "Okay, see you later." And what happens if it just Martin County, middle of down? They go, "Yeah, you bet," but no one else does. Now there's a little blip that ends up being in Iowa. You know what I'm saying? This stuff's not going anywhere, right?
Well, look, I mean, the borders of states actually change from time to time, mostly due to rivers. But 5 counties in rural Oregon have voted to join Idaho, and if Congress approves this, it would be you would have Idaho with West Coast property. So it's not uncommon for people to want better governance and to just want to be with people that share the same values. And I don't think that the Democrats in St. Paul, if we are insistent, that would force us to be with them. I think that eventually they'd say, you know what, guys, go ahead, you can join Iowa or South Dakota.
So the U.S. Senate and House would have to approve it as well?
So U.S. would have to approve the border change, but they're not giving us new senators. They're just, we're not becoming our own state. We're just moving a border. So for Congress, it really isn't that big of a deal. They do approve border changes all the time. When rivers, change, a mile or so of land, they redraw borders.
Yeah, this will be. I appreciate the thought. I really do. I think it's hilarious, and I'd love to see how many counties would be willing to take that vote. But anyway, the last thing I'd like to talk with you about, if I can, because I really do have a lot of thoughts on this one. You've got legislation, or do you support? You want to know if people support the Defend the Guard Act, and what that is it prohibits the federal government from sending National Guard troops, Minnesota National Guard troops, to war zones if we're not declared in a war. I find that interesting. I like the premise of this question, and I think it's going to make people think more than they wanted to today.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the history of wars in the United States, we have not officially declared a war since World War II. All of the actions, Vietnam War, have been technically police actions and have been unilaterally, dictated by the president. And the president can call up Minnesota's National Guard and send them to other places. And I believe back in the 80s, our governor had refused to give the president the Minnesota National Guard to send them to Panama or something. I believe in states' rights, and I believe that the president shouldn't be able to send our National Guard members overseas unless Congress declares a war. But I myself did not serve, and I'm curious to get feedback from people, either from the National Guard or the Army. I think fewer people are signing up for the National Guard because it isn't about sandbagging and defending our state and doing work here at home. If they can, be sent overseas, it's different. And so I think I'm just curious to get people's feedback from this bill. Cal Bar introduced it last year, and they'll probably do it again next year. I think it's an interest, and there's a movement nationally on the same thing, where some governors or lieutenant governors are supportive of this legislation to reaffirm states' rights.
Well, and states' rights issues, and I'm all for that. I look at it from the National Guardsman's point of view, like you say. I sign up. A citizen soldier for my state, if you will, back when you had the militias, so the Minnesota militia, that sort of thing. I want to help protect Minnesota. By doing that and signing up, all of a sudden you find yourself in Afghanistan and you're like, I don't know if I want to be here or not. I get that. Does this go anywhere on that same line, being sent to Washington to stand guard around the Capitol during the riots? Got my finger quotes up, or some of these governors now, and Republican governors that. So, I mean, I'm not sure I know where I stand on this, sending our National Guardsmen down to the border to help with border security. You know what I'm saying? I was like, is that not in the same line? Again, you don't want to declare war at the U.S. Capitol. You're not declaring war at the border, but you're sending troops off that is like, wait a minute, I'm more than willing to help Ely out if they need something. No, I'll help Minneapolis out, but I'm not here to go to Texas in the heat of the summer.
Yeah, I think that's really an interesting point. Both the January 6th, issues in Washington, D.C. and the border security too. And as we rewrite this legislation for the next session in January, I think it would be interesting to address that, because I've had a lot of feedback already just saying that, look, it says that you can't send the National Guard out of Minnesota unless there's a declaration of war, a military invasion of the United States, or an insurrection. And I've had people say, well, we shouldn't be doing, saying it's insurrection, take that out too. So I think maybe the bill needs some work, but I like the premise, and, looking for a lot of feedback from people, especially those who have served in the military.
Well, and I hope they do give you that feedback. I'm going to have to put my mind around this. I get the idea that governors want to send their state National Guard to help on the border. That's the governor in charge of those people. I get the ability to do that. I'm not sure I'm for it or against it. I'm going to have to figure out where I stand on that. How do people get a hold of you, Representative, to say, hey, here's what I think. This is my thoughts on it. If you want to know, I'm X number guy from Minnesota National Guard.
Yeah, I mean, you can reach out to me on Facebook, Representative Jeremy Munson. You could also email me at rep.jeremy.munson@house.mn. Love to hear from constituents and people that served to get feedback on that bill specifically.
All right, get a hold of him right away. And I have about 2 minutes, sir. I would be neglect not to highlight this, as it's a big part of your Facebook page. I'm seeing the hat everywhere. You were given what I can only consider the Golden Globe, the Oscar of representatives on your side, the Representative Extraordinaire Award. Can you explain more about that? This is relatively new to me.
Yeah, there's a lawyer in Minnesota named Jeffrey O'Brien that's starting a new kind of awards for legislators that are introducing in bold legislation and being conservative and fighting for limited government. So I'm happy to get the award this year, and was on radio in the Twin Cities this morning talking about some different legislation. So also I want to let everybody know that the legislature is scheduled to come back for another special session in September. This is part of, I think it's $250 million in extra money that we have at the state that the governor and the House and Senate have decided they're going to give it away to people for bonuses for who they're going to decide is essential workers. So they're going to come back in September and decide who they think are essential workers, how many of them, and who gets the money. So it's not the people that the government said that could not work and lost their income, but people that did work and were chosen to be essential, and they're going to give them bonuses in September.
Wow. Okay, this is news to me. Oh, really? So there's just this. Get a hold of your legislator now to get your job on the list. You talking the Quick Trip guy, the grocery store pea can filler upper guy? These are the guys that could possibly be getting what? Just a bonus check from the state? Or are you talking a refund? Really?
No, just hard cold cash just sent to people. It could be $1,000, could be $500. Depends on how big a pool they want to make it and who they're going to choose to be essential. Again, you're having government take your tax dollars and just give it away to people that they think are essential. Not saying that a lot of people didn't put in extra time, and the nurses and everybody else and the teachers, but the government is going to get together in September and decide, the little group of 9 people, that 3 people from the House, Senate, and the governor's administration, that are going to decide who gets your taxpayer money. And this is, of course, after the pandemic.
I'm sorry. This is driving me. You got to be kidding me, because this is nothing more than who can we pay off for your votes in 18 months. I'm sorry. You could even brought up the teachers. Some teachers did work through this. I got a wife who worked through this pandemic. But guess what? Not all teachers did. Their schools closed. They stayed home. You're going to just send the teachers union a big old check to spread them out. You got to, how much? $250 million?
You are reading between the lines. This is absolutely buying votes. And it is disgusting campaign tactics, but it is $250 million of a campaign fund that's being set up basically to pay people for their votes. Yes.
And this will have to go through the whole process. The House and the Senate have to agree on where it goes, and for the governor to sign it, is at least there's some checks and balances, and there's some.
Yeah.
Please tell me there is.
So Hortman, Gazelka, and the governor each got to choose 3 people to sit on this council. They're going to decide. It'll be decided, and it'll come to the vote to the House and Senate for a rubber stamp. But I'm voting no on it. Pretty much. I already have decided I'm going to vote no on this because I don't like the process.
Oh, that is crazy. Representative Munson, thank you for coming on the program. And what day is that? September? What are you going back to kiss away $250 million?
Yeah, it's in September, early September. So I'll get the date, probably September 6th.
Well, you'll be back on between now and then. Representative Munson, thanks for always being on the program, my friend.
Thank you, Al.